afternoon and welcome to the Prudent Money Radio Show. I'm your host, Bob Brooks. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do appreciate it. So, are you facing difficult financial times? Well, maybe the answer is one you really haven't considered. Well, maybe you just need more money. Entrepreneur and author Matt Manero is here to tell us more and talk about his book, You Need More Money. Wake up and solve your financial problems once and for all. Matt, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Bob. Happy to be here.
I got to tell you, I really do like what you've done with this book. It's a very direct message to people that might be struggling financially. And, funny, Matt, it's a message that both is obvious, but not so obvious in its meaning to everyone.
Hmm. Agreed. Agreed. It's interesting. People think the book is about annuities and picking the right stocks and all of that stuff, and it's really just a story of my brother-in-law and how it impacted our lives in a way that none of us ever saw coming.
I think that the overall problem with most people is that they're facing financial problems, yet not taking the action to fix them. And you cover this thoroughly in the book. It's almost like they're waiting on a solution, or they're quit simply avoiding the situation altogether.
There's no question. Most people have their head in the sand, and they think that something miraculous is going to come and
Sure.
solve their money situation. And unfortunately, most of the time, Bob, it's the opposite of what happens. Something totally out of their control comes and destroys their money situation. And I tried to tell a story that was so deeply personal to my family in a way that hopefully ends up helping thousands and thousands of people.
Matt, I've always found it interesting in people's reaction to financial problems and really just avoiding the reality of them. I think it's in our DNA. I mean, what is your opinion of why people don't take action needed to solve problems? Because this is what you talk about in the book, is that you've got to take action.
We have to take action. So many of us are using old information. We are conditioned and programmed through school or through our family environments um, to to be afraid of money, right? I mean,
Sure.
whether it's politics or religion or money, most people are terrified to talk about it. And what I have found in my experience of going from zero into financially secure is that financially secure people are more than happy to talk about money, especially the people who came from nothing and actually were able to build something meaningful financially. They want to help other people. They're not afraid to talk about it. They're not ashamed of their failures or their successes. And I believe that more people need to embrace the conversation of money. We don't have to do it boastfully. We don't have to do it in a braggadocious way. And we also don't have to do it in a guilt-ridden, underachiever way. We just need to talk about it. How do I go from nothing to something? And Bob, the other thing I found in the book is that there are a lot of people who aren't broke who are resonating with this book, and they're saying, wow, I thought I was doing okay until you sort of laid out some of these tests, or what I call the litmus test. And when I put myself through the litmus test, I'm still way behind, even though I thought
Yeah.
I was doing great, which I call false positive. And it's time for people to wake up, because time marches on. We see that in our families. We see it with our children. This is graduation season. I'm going to all these high school graduation parties for our friends and watching our children grow so fast.
Mm.
Time marches on, man. We got to get our money right.
You know, it just dawns on it. I think about this, Matt, is that money is such a complex subject. We want to avoid it. We don't want to be honest about it. We don't want to talk about it. And it's just so very true. Whether or not, and this book does resonate, I'm sure, with people that really kind of in every season of their financial life, because it deals with the reality of just being real with money.
I think one of the biggest things is that people need to recognize that the money has moved. When I graduated college in 1991, to be in the top 1% of earners in America, you needed to make $100,000.
Hmm.
And when I ask audiences what do they think that number to be in the top 1% of earners is today, you would be amazed at the variance in the answers, Bob. People have no idea what real money is anymore. I mean, literally, they'll say, 125,000. I've had some people say $2 million. I mean, they're clueless about how the money has moved. The answer to that is $384,000. So to be in the top 1% of earners in America today, you need to make $384,000, and yet so many people are still chasing smaller numbers, and that's because they're chasing outdated information. Everything is more expensive now.
Sure, sure. Well, you talked a little bit about this when we first opened up the interview. Talk a little bit about your wake up call and what happened.
Well, a couple years ago, it was Easter Sunday. We were at my mother-in-law. Her name is Gigi. We're at her house. My brother-in-law had moved his family, his wife and his 4 children, to Dallas a few years before. It was a wonderful time for our families. We all would get together and the cousins would play, and it was great. But this Easter Sunday, my brother-in-law came to the door, and he looked different. He looked thin. He looked frail. He looked gray. And, when I gave him a hug, I said, wow, you look like you lost some weight. And he said, yeah, maybe 5 or 10 pounds. And I said, I said to myself, boy, a lot more than that. He didn't touch his plate. He didn't eat anything, and immediately fell asleep on the couch and woke up in sort of a panic. And he grabbed my arm and said, I haven't felt well for months. I'm going to the doctor in the morning, and I'll get a shot. And that was supposed to be that. He was supposed to go to the doctor that Monday, get a shot, and go back to work on Tuesday. But instead, at 46, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and we soon found out that he unfortunately had no life insurance and no health insurance and less than $100 in the bank. And that news rocked our world because I've been married 20 years to my beloved wife, and we love each other. I know that for sure, but I know she loved her brother equal or greater than she loves me. And so you couldn't have picked the worst person for it to happen to. It devastated our family. And then when you add the financial nightmare of no health insurance, no life insurance, and $100 in the bank to that situation, it really was the ultimate wake-up call. I was fortunate. I have come from nothing, and I built a substantial business, and my wife and I were able to drop in and handle his money problems and make sure that the family was taken care of in an effort to try to get him better. But unfortunately, he died almost 1 year to the day, and his family was left with nothing.
Well, one of the things that you focus on in the book, and obviously from personal experience, this is a very real topic, is that there's one thing about planning for a life by design, I think is what you call it, and with things just being constant, much less being prepared if life changes, and things can change in an instant.
Things can change in an instant. It doesn't have to be a cancer diagnosis. It could be a regulation change. It could be a new competitor in the marketplace. It could be a new boss that wants to put a new executive committee in. It could be 2 planes hitting skyscrapers. I mean, we don't know what's coming down the pipe. And so why not look at it completely different? It's my argument in the book. Why not create our lifestyle by design, our design, and then follow the roadmap that I lay out? It's the roadmap I took to go into the marketplace and get our piece of the American pie. And we do that by taking massive levels of action in a very clear direction that's connected to core values and mission statement and lifestyle by design. And success is available to anyone. Financial success, happiness, all of that is available to anyone if they lay it out before they need it and they execute on it.
Now, Matt, you write that it is important to know your mindset. You could either be a game facer, a dreamer, or a blamer. And let's start with a blamer. That is a very easy trap to fall into because it's easy to blame someone else for your misfortunes while using that excuse to remain stuck. I mean, let's talk about those 3.
Yeah, I look at a money mindset in 3 ways. The first is the blamer. That is the person that blames their boss. They blame the economy. They blame the White House for why they don't have enough. The blamer mindset is a very toxic mindset to be around. They are typically not the most successful people, and they want to bring other people down with them,
Sure,
Bob.
sure.
They don't want you to be successful either. So they sort of end up being a little bit of a chain around your neck. The second mindset is the dreamer, which I'm a huge fan of dreamers. I want dreamers at my party. I love my Uncle Bob, who, when you drive around town, he says, "Could you imagine if I bought that corner lot 20 years ago? You imagine what that would be worth today? Boy, I could have bought beachfront property for $10,000 a lot. Could you imagine what it'd be worth today?" The dreamers say things like, "When I win the lottery, then we're going to start to live our
Sure,
lives," right?
sure.
And those people, while they're fun to be around, they usually never have the guts to pull the trigger and execute on what they probably already know is the right move. And then we have the last mindset, which is the game facers. And these are the people that win. They are the people that build a plan. They stay true to the plan. They focus on earning. They're not afraid to do what they're supposed to do and do what they have to do to achieve. And my argument in the book is people need to be game facers when it comes to their money. They have to build a plan, and they have to have a desire, what I call unbridled ambition to win.
Well, the book is called You Need More Money. Wake up and solve your financial problems once and for all. Matt, I interview a lot of people, talk about these different topics, talk about different books that have been written. And I got to tell you, this is the first one I've come across that really takes a very obvious problem and faces it up front. Because we do make a lot of excuses, we do dream a lot, and all that keeps us stuck. And you talk about how to get out of that dangerous loop that you can get into, and really start to make a difference. Now, you write about the decision to face life differently. You write about building a lifestyle by design. Talk about the process.
The process of a lifestyle by design is first getting very honest with your current money situation. And, I have been in business for 23 years myself. For the first decade, I was not honest about money. I was not honest about it with my wife or my children. I would lie to my wife when I would come home after working hard all week, and she would say, "How did we do this week?" And I would tell her we did fine, knowing that we didn't. I would get the lights shut off, and I would make up some baloney excuse as to why that happened. And then finally, my little 5'2" redhead Spitfire wife just didn't take it anymore. And the jig was up. And I remember the night that I decided to come clean to her and tell her the truth about our money situation. And, she said, "How did we do this week?" And I just laid it all out. Said we did terrible. She said, "I'm going to ask you one question. Did you pay yourself?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Did you pay your employees?" And I said, "Yes." And she went crazy. She just stamped her feet and started screaming, "How can you do that to me and our boys? How can you continue this lie? When are you going to realize that you're bigger than your business? It's time to go," is basically what she was saying. And I decided that night that I was going to fix it. And I'm proud to say that I did. It took me a long time, but I did. And, my lovely wife never asks me those questions again, because she knows that I went for it and that I will continue to go for it, and I will do whatever it is legal to provide for my family and achieve. And more people need to start with that brutal honesty to themselves first, and then everyone that matters around them. Just tell the doggone truth about your money situation. That's the start of how we build a lifestyle by design.
Matt, that's a very tough conversation to have, especially when you've let a lot of time go by. I'm just out of curiosity, what shifted for you that you said, I got to have this conversation?
When my wife and I got married, we didn't have any money, so I knew that all we had, together was love, and I felt that I was violating that love. I felt that
Mm,
I was really misleading her, and that weighed so heavily on me year after year after year, and it was creating tremendous amounts of stress for me, and I just wasn't going to do it anymore. I just drew the line in the sand and said, today is the day that we're going to fix it, and the only way I know how to fix it is just be truthful and pray for her support, which she gave immediately, and then we're going to rebuild the team and we're going to go after it and we're going to fix it. And that's what we did. And the reality is that it was the most exciting and liberating conversation. We're so afraid of it,
Sure.
and more people need to do it. And I can promise the audience that if they do it, the result will be far better than what they anticipate the result is going to be. You will get people to rally around you when you tell the truth and stop masking it. I don't care whether it's about money or it's about whatever. Just tell the doggone truth, man.
If you want more information about the book, you can go to mattmanero.com, spelled Manero. Yeah, that's kind of one of those things where I think that you go through that conversation in your mind and you say, oh, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be bad. But yet, like you said, it could be one of the most liberating conversations when you just finally say, this is the deal. Let's get real about it. Now let's fix it. You write about goal setting in the book. What mistakes do you find that people make when they go through that process? Because it seems like that people have the best intentions to set goals and put them into motion, but yet they never really follow through with them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge believer, Bob, in core values and mission statement.
Yes.
These decisions that we make in our lives that become the line in the sand that we refuse to cross. And I think goal setting is often connected to material goods and not connected to emotional goods. And that's one of the reasons why we struggle so much in
Mm.
achieving our goals. For me, I have crystal clear core values, both in my business and in my personal life. And I refuse to bend on them. And most people are afraid to make that stance. But, the reality is my number one core value in my personal life is I want to be a better father to my boys than my father was to me. And so pretty much everything I do on the home front is connected to that simple core value. How do I lead by example for my boys in a better way than my father led for me? In my business life, it's the same. I run the business on 4 core values, and every decision we make is connected to those 4 core values. And that's why goal setting is so difficult, because people should start by setting their goals of their core values. What will they tolerate? What will they not tolerate? And then be a slave to managing everything to those core values. And it's hard to do. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a one sit down, let me just jot these core values down. It takes thought. It takes consideration. It takes often going back and recognizing some of the pain maybe in our earlier life that we have to purge and we have to burn off and we have to address so that we can fix it.
Matt, I like the fact that you write about risk and reward in the book. We're taking risks to some degree with every decision we make, and building a lifestyle by design is about making a lot of decisions and taking action. How do we go about reducing risk with those decisions we're making?
It's a wonderful question, Bob. Thank you. Here's the thing I always ask. Why is it that some people buy one rental house and some people buy 100 rental houses, right?
Right.
Why does one person think that one is so risky and someone else thinks that hundreds is not risky? And it comes down to research and analysis. The ability to remove risk because you've taken the time to research and analyze the situation. That means skilling up. It requires you being an expert. You must talk to lots of people and do a lot of research, because the more research and analysis you do, the lower the risk becomes. And then eventually we have to use that to pull the trigger and do the deal. The deal is investing. The deal is running a better business. The deal is being a better husband or wife or father. And it all comes down to research and analysis. And the reason we are still feeling risk is because we have not done enough research and analysis in the situation, in the opportunity, in the investment to remove the risk. And that's why one guy has 100 flip houses and one guy has one house. The guy with 100 has done the research analysis to say, I know the market, I know the pricing run, I know the upside, I have the contractors, I know how to get my materials, I know my window, I know how to get my financing, and I know that there's a market for it when I'm done. And they've done all that. That's why they can do it over and over and over and over and over again.
Well, when you're trying to make change in your life, it's important, and you point this out in the book, and I love this, is that you surround yourself, excuse me, with people that have the same beliefs. How important is that one point?
I missed it. I didn't do that early in my career. I was so insecure and afraid that I could not reach out for help. I thought people would consider me an underachiever, that my business wasn't successful enough, maybe that I didn't have the aptitude or intelligence to get their respect and get their assistance. And that cost me a decade of my success. I'm 49 years old, and what I have achieved today, I could have achieved at 39. There's no question about it. If I had reached up and asked for assistance from people earlier. And it's mission critical. We must surround ourselves with people who are achieving what we want to achieve. Unfortunately, Bob, the exact opposite is true. We often surround ourselves with people who are achieving less than us because that's how we feel better about our achievements.
I saw at least one Jim Rohn quote in the book, and I remember something he said: "If you want to be a billionaire, you surround yourself with a bunch of billionaires, not a bunch of millionaires, a bunch
It's
of
very
billionaires."
true.
Well, listen, Matt,
Very, very
congratulations
true.
on the book. Once again, you need more money. Wake up and solve your financial problems once and for all. If you want more information, go to www.mattmanero.com. And I also want to mention, Matt, you are a Dallas resident.
I am. I live in Dallas. I've been here for 23 years, and I founded and own an equipment finance company that has finally reached what I call the pleasure side of small business, whereas so many people are stuck in the pain side, as I was. Um, so yeah, I'm such a huge fan of Dallas and Texas for business too,
Yes,
Bob. I just think it's such a magical place. That the state of Texas wants you to win in business. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Absolutely. Never thought about it, but I would agree with
Yeah,
that. Well,
yeah.
listen, Matt, congratulations on your book. Great book. And once again, you need more money. Wake up and solve your financial problems once and for all. It was great to have you on the program, Matt.
Bob, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. That website, once again, is mattmanero.com, spelled Manero.com, if you want more information on the book. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that we just get so stuck in our financial problems and without realizing, hey, we got to take action. We got to put a game plan together. We got to get out of this once and for all. And I know too many success stories to tell you that it can be done. Once again, you need more money. Wake up and solve your financial problems once and for all by Matt Manero. This is Bob Brooks. If you got a question for me, go to askbobbrooks.com.